So welcome to Technology to Create Operational Efficiencies. We are here to tell you true stories, practical stories, things that you can actually go back and implement. I think we all have discussed kind of ad nauseum, obviously the COVID years. I joke that you're not going to say we had 2020 and 2021, we're just going to say the COVID years. So during that, we were able to really come together as a team and talk about maybe what was broken, what was not working efficiently for our on-site teams, our regional managers, all of our divisions. And so it was really kind of a great time to brainstorm. And really, what is our story? What were the challenges? As president of property management, I have the luxury of working with our marketing team, our training team, our operations, systems, facilities, and recruiting. So everything kind of rolls up under my umbrella, and I have some amazing folks, including Liv, that I get to work day in and day out with. And the one thing at Bainbridge, regardless of what your title or your position, we are heavily engaged with our on-site teams. So we want to know what's going on, what's working for them, what's not working for them, because at the end of the day, we're all here to make things better. We're here to make sure our clients and investors and partners are getting the return on their investments. And that's when we kind of had the brainchild of how do we make life better in 2022? And that's how do we make our teams' lives easier, residents, investors, partners, et cetera. So we looked to find solutions that were to automate our tasks and create efficiencies. We focused on 4 areas. Again, leasing, market surveys, compliance, and facilities maintenance. So I think, Liv, maybe you'll start off talking about some of the leasing efficiencies.
Yeah, so with COVID, we saw a huge shift in the way consumers were shopping online. So maybe you had individuals that weren't like so tech savvy or didn't have a high level of comfortability with a full shopping online experience. And I think COVID really pushed people outside of their comfort zone. And as a result, our on-site team started seeing a tremendous increase in lead volume, particularly email lead volume. So a 250 unit community with just a leasing agent, assistant manager, property manager. All of a sudden we were seeing 150 plus email leads. And we have standards in response time and follow up. And we were realizing that they just couldn't meet those KPIs. And so when Dana challenged us as department leaders, like find efficiencies, find ways to make things better, we realized that we needed to help our teams and most importantly from a marketing standpoint, ensure that all of our leads were getting a response and nurtured and followed up. We also wanted to focus on quality, right? Quality, traffic, making sure that what the teams are working on is actually converting into tours and into leases. So for my team, we looked at automation and we looked at consumer demand. So we started by saying, okay, what does a consumer want when they're shopping online? And we realized when you give them all the information about your community, they tend to make really well-informed decisions. So we looked at, all right, what are our websites? We believe that we drive a lot of traffic to our websites. That's kind of our marketing strategy. So we started looking at our websites and what was missing. So I think the standard for us was just pricing and availability, real-time pricing and availability. But then we started looking at, what if they want a tour? Do we have that functionality at their fingertips? And are they able to determine the tour that they want, whether it's, in-person, self-guided, virtual tours? We started looking at, the ability to have chat and, answering the questions, giving them a virtual tour experience, giving them rich content. We really went above and beyond in making sure that they knew everything about the community before reaching out to us. And so that kind of helped me be in contact with vendors that maybe otherwise, I might get an email here and there and not necessarily respond just for time. But I started taking, calls and meetings and realizing there was so much technology in our fingertips that meet consumer demand. And when you meet the consumer demand and the experience, then all of a sudden we're driving really quality traffic. So in addition to that, then it was like, okay, so we're driving all this quality traffic, it's great, but it's still a lot of lead volume. And we wanted to make sure that every lead was getting responded to, but most importantly, nurtured, because the majority of our portfolio is in the Southeast, and obviously it was a big area for migration, and we had people that were submitting the lead that just maybe weren't ready to make a decision, but we still wanted to nurture. So we went out and, I've been hearing a lot about AI, and we found this amazing AI tool that became like our virtual leasing agent. And this AI tool would respond to every single marketing lead that our communities would receive, and it integrated with our back end, so they were able to answer all the questions. So instead of our on-site team sitting behind their computer responding to this, really long queue of leads, we had somebody now doing that work for them, right? All these preliminary questions and getting them to schedule a tour. So as a result, our teams were now focusing on the customer service piece. So Bainbridge is all about, creating exceptional living experiences, and we wanted them to focus on touring and the customer service and the human interaction piece. So while they were doing that, we had technology in the back end responding to all email leads. And the numbers that we saw were just phenomenal. So when we tied, meeting consumer demand and AI to kind of respond to all those leads, we saw huge increases in tours. We saw huge increases in conversion. I mean, we had a couple of lease ups that we were able to stabilize within 5 months of opening. So that technology just really was a game changer for us. So AI, it's out there, it exists, it'll help your teams, but most importantly from a marketing standpoint, it will make sure that every marketing dollar that you're spending is being, nurtured and communicated with, and not a single lead is missed.
Yeah, great. So we'll kind of parlay over into an operations piece. So market surveys, there's so many different tools out there, and in Bainbridge, we were using the good old Excel spreadsheet tool. So we realized that was very antiquated, and we were not getting up-to-date data. So we really wanted to be able to dig into the micro markets, especially right now. I mean, we all are seeing occupancies, again, especially throughout Florida and the Southeast, at their highest. We're seeing a tremendous amount of rent growth, so really being able to dissect the micro market and the sub-market and having our on-site teams engaged in that process so they really understand where they sit within that pocket. So we did work with a vendor to come up with a really great automated market survey tool that really digs into analytics. So me being the nerd that I am with analytics and data, it was great for me to have a dashboard to where I could do a one-stop shop to really kind of see where everyone fell within the portfolio, graphs, charts, anything that you need from an analytics standpoint were really at your fingertips. So I could go in, I could take a look and see, okay, what should be on the watch list? What should we be looking for? Where is their net effective rent month over month, quarter over quarter compared to their competitors? So we just realized there were a lot of issues that we had before. We had a lot of missing data and links. So this really helped kind of automate that process. It also saved time for the on-site teams to not have to do manual calling or fill in the spreadsheets, fixing constant errors and bothering our analysts who had to go in and fix our formulas because we overrode them. So it was definitely great to automate that system. And then I know it's boring, but compliance. You absolutely have to make sure that everything is your I's are being dotted and your T's are being checked. And we had a lot of different spreadsheets again, and policies and procedures and KPIs out there from a compliance standpoint. However, we didn't have a warehouse. We didn't have a tool to where it could be automated. You can have tasks that are set up. You eliminate the paper tracking. You improve the organization to where regional managers also have a dashboard. They can pay attention to all of their properties within a portfolio to see where maybe they need some training or some additional tools from a compliance standpoint. That's incident reporting. That's your quarterly reports, your preventative maintenance inspection reports, anything and everything that you would typically see on a property where you have to do safety checks. This is all rolling up into this one data warehouse. And you're able to monitor and track in real time. So if you see that a property's falling behind on any type of inspection, you can give them a call. See, is it short staffing? Is there a property that needs assistance? It's really great for the monitoring and the reporting, and then just maintaining that historical data. So again, from the incident reporting standpoint, it's been extremely helpful to have a warehouse of all of our incident reports, and it's improved that reporting as well. I think I heard a panelist earlier say about kind of forward thinking. I would say at Bainbridge, what we really love to do is kind of think outside the box. And as Liv mentioned, I challenged every one of our division heads to really think outside the box. How do we make life better going into next year? We're always willing to take a look at the latest and greatest. And I think multifamily in general, we've been antiquated through the years compared to some other industries. So it's really exciting to see what's coming into multifamily, how we're improving. But I encourage everyone to kind of always be open to the technology that's out there, because it really can create great efficiencies and synergies between your divisions, which rolls down to the on-site teams and ultimately into the clients' pockets and our partners' pockets from a revenue standpoint.
Yeah, and I think one thing to add with the market surveys, although the initial intent was more for an operations tool, it became a huge tool for marketing, where if we had some slow traffic or leasing or just overall performance, because this was part of a bigger platform where other communities are involved in submitting their data, we were able to see more visit like a market condition, a slowdown, or if it's something on us that we needed to dig in and deeper. But that was like all proactively done because we were looking at these reportings as opposed to like reactive and seeing, that we were falling behind a little bit too late. And lastly, our head of facilities couldn't join us, so I'm gonna take over for him.
Marketing and facilities.
Yeah, facilities. So when COVID hit and we had, we had a quarantine and shutting down, Bainbridge took an approach where we were responding to emergency maintenance requests. And so when we were fully back and operational, obviously we had, work orders that we had to deal with. And what we were hearing from our maintenance teams in turnaround times, or just there's a lot of administrative work, and so our director of facilities was like, we need to fix this. This is a lot. We got to get back on track. We got to make sure everything is where it should be. So he found this platform that basically is putting technology like at their fingertips. So if you think about proper operations, you have your maintenance supervisor, your technicians that are going in and they're printing up work orders, and okay, you take this, you take that, they go off. So now what we were able to do is look at the work orders and assign them. So it eliminated a lot of admin. It was all at their fingertips, and we were able to track when they were going in to do a work order, how long it was taking them. They were able to take pictures of things that needed fixing, especially during like move out inspections, all of that into this database, so easy. Nothing was getting lost, nothing was getting misplaced. And then we are getting data on how long it takes to fix certain things, how long the turnaround time is for each, rep. So it really created a lot of efficiencies and a lot of data and visibility that we really were lacking. So then that allowed us to really dig in and see like, okay, where maybe do we need to outsource, or where do we just need improvement overall? And lastly, it allowed us to monitor inventory, and it allowed us to track spend. And because we piloted a lot of these technologies this year, from a budgeting standpoint, we went into 2022 feeling really good and really strong about our recommendations and our budgets, because again, it was all based on data, and data that we knew was accurate. So that really helped us and allowed us to kind of catch up with some of our maintenance. Anything to add?
I would say this actually, the technology piece, and I think you said it earlier, integration is key. I mean, we can have all these different softwares and all these different platforms, but you really need everything to integrate very well to have efficiencies in your operations. So the director of facilities who came to us and implemented this program was also able to integrate into the other warehouse platform that we have, where we were able to watch compliance and checklists, and so it just became kind of a seamless process for the on-site teams and the regional managers.
Yeah. So again, what we wanted to do is kind of tell you like our story and some, the real insights. We looked at, leasing, we looked at market surveys, we looked at compliance and maintenance, and at the end of the day, while we might have maybe invested some dollars in there that we weren't planned for, what we found is a huge return on that investment. And what we found was elimination of redundancies in some of the products that we have, and then taking it a step further, we have teams that don't feel so overwhelmed, and it's creating a better work environment for them, and kind of making things easier. So our tips would be, be open to new vendors. There is tons of new technology out there. And as I mentioned, if it wasn't for Dana saying, like, go out there and talk to everybody and everyone, I probably would have not had the exposure to some of the new technology that's out there. So, there's a lot of great people I know that are here that we utilize. And then, how to implement that is look at where you're lacking like visibility, where you're lacking, performance, where you're lacking data to kind of determine how to prioritize that. And then to Dana's point, for us, integration was huge because in the past when we had implemented, some other products or solutions, when we're giving our teams like 7 different platforms for them to log on to and all these different dashboards, what we found was minimal adoption. We really struggled with adoption, and then if they're not using it, it doesn't really matter how great the solution or the product is, it's not getting utilized. So for us, it was making sure that the technology had integrations with our systems so that they all talk to each other and they can get the data just from one place or the usage from one place. And I think when we made that shift and making that a priority integration and not having all these different places to log into, where we saw the increase of adoption and why these solutions have been very successful for us.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. We kind of went quick.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Yes, ma'am. We're really not supposed to, but check us out in the lobby.
I think there's a question over here. Did you have a question?
You'll meet me out in the
you'll
lobby.
meet us in the
Okay.
lobby? Okay. Anything else?
Anything
Yes?
else? Hard to see.
I'll give you one. How did you, when you said you went out and identified all of the technology, how did you do that? Because conferences like this are great, but there's a lot more out there. And how did you find out what was available that would affect your business?
So to be honest, I kind of went back through my emails of like my vendor folder of people that had reached out to me. And then, I just like Google, or I'll look at like an AA website or just industry websites. I'm also part of a couple of networking groups where I could be like, hey, does anybody have, this? But anytime that somebody reaches out to me with like new technology for automation and marketing, lesson learned for me, I'm always open to learning and listening. And, I'll know pretty soon if it makes sense for us because, again, we're pretty aware of where we need assistance. So there's stuff that, we just don't need because we got it under control, and there's stuff that we are looking. Our future, our focus is efficiency, optimization for efficiency, to make things easier for our teams, to make our business run smoother, to get real data and information available to us.
Yeah, and I would say to that as well, looking outside of the industry to see what we could bring to vendors. So I know we've done that with some of our current vendors we have great partnerships with, but we would attend conferences or just look into other industries and what they do for automation and efficiencies, and then bring it back to the current vendors and see if there's anything we can do to improve what currently is in place. And I know we've done that with a few of the vendors. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to maybe seeing some things in 2022 come from those conversations.
Good answer. So pretty much if you're a vendor, send those cold emails is what
That's
you're
right.
saying.
Yeah, I mean,
we will answer.
It might take us a while, but.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Dan and Liv, you crushed it.